Finally managed to fucking put my air mattress down because the entire floor is soaked because it's raining outside. I'm tired. I have a cold. I have a slight cold. I think it might be like one of the more severe colds. I'm gonna be careful of going outside. I have to change pants. I have to like find one and everything. Really annoying. My package is supposed to arrive on Friday. I'm thinking about going to pick it up on Saturday. Currently, that's my plan. Other than that, like, I wanted to like make this video about trying to keep myself sane. This is my video diary. That's what I've been doing on YouTube. Posting my video diary, and I know other people can see it, so like I make some stuff, comments here and there, so people can read it. I think honestly a lot of people get confused about, okay, I'm gonna make this video about meditation and meditative techniques. What is meditation? It's called thinking. It's not really deep thinking. It's more like meditation is a way for you to focus on these ideas and the responses that you are currently experiencing, right? So like, let's say you have racing thoughts, or you're always worried or whatever. If you take like maybe 10 minutes out of your day to sit down and think about all of that, like, what are you worried about? Okay, what's your biggest fear about regarding that worry? If that happens, that big fear happens, what would you do? What would be the worst thing? What would be the best thing? How else would you go about it? That kind of stuff. Especially if it's like reviewing, except you're doing it in your head. So another way people meditate, this isn't Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and with Influence or something like that. I forget the title exactly, but he has a very, very popular book, and it's called How to Win Friends and Gain Influence or something. It's a nice, easy read, like I don't know, like a bathroom read or like for a coffee table or something. It's great for that. I really wouldn't take it too seriously. Again, he is his own person, and this was written like how many years ago, so it's not all applicable currently in modern day. But the great thing about that book is that he does mention meditation, which is, he says there's a friend that he has, and he, at the end of the week, he writes down every single interaction that he had that was new. So outside of his friends and family that he already knew, and then he like goes over it and like see what went well, what didn't go well, and how he could improve it next time. So that's called meditation, except he's writing it down. With meditation, you're supposed to keep it in your head. That's why it's nice to have like a quiet place to just meditate and just think. You know, it's great as an exercise, so it does increase your memory. When you're actually focused on your thoughts and your mood and how it all relates to each other, it also helps you to gain insight as to what kind of person are you, or what your preferences really are oriented towards. So like, let's say you like, I don't know, you're upset every time you eat mango smoothies or something, so you just assume you don't like mango smoothies, but you never notice that every time you get mango smoothies, it's with your friend, and every time you go to that location with that friend, they always mention some weird stuff, right? It's a psychological trick where if the participant, or like the person who's a victim of a psychological trick, let's say, becomes aware of said trick and what they're trying to accomplish, it no longer has any sort of bearing or significance anymore. That's the thing with psychological tricks. Now, it doesn't work often. That's the thing. Like, stop trying to trick people into doing whatever you want them to do. I mean, sometimes it's helpful. Like, if you're tricking somebody into losing weight, oh my god. If you're tricking somebody into, like, I don't know, stop drinking, and yeah, those are like good ways, like you doing bad things, but for a good cause. Very ethical of you. But maybe not so moral. Like, it's immoral, but ethical. But more on that later. Meditative techniques are actually integral and key to a lot of things in life, especially if just like everything becomes so hectic and you need to actually take time. Okay, this isn't automatic, for you to be able to review and just like sit down and think about yourself and how it's affecting you, etc., etc., etc. What else? With ethics and morals, I already did a video on it, but moral is like doing it for a good reason, like, oh, I want to make my friend feel better. Ethics is like, oh, the result is a good thing. So I want to make my friend feel better, and they like to smoke cigarettes, so I just bought them a pack of cigarettes. That's moral, but unethical. I wanted to make my friend feel better, so I took them out to eat. That's moral and that's ethical, kind of. I mean, the ethics in question becomes, what kind of place are you taking them to eat? Right? Like, is it a good place? Is it like a local business that you're supporting and they're helping out the community, or is it like one of those like really bad seedy bars that like they're just kind of bad to have around? I don't know, but like, let's say that it was a great restaurant and everybody loves it and it's a really good thing to have in the community, and you take your friend there and you're supporting a local business and you're trying to cheer your friend up. That's called being moral and ethical. Immoral is when you're like, I don't like what you're doing and it's bad. So you do it immoral way, but it's ethical if the results are very beneficial for everyone. I mean, that's a little bit of a tricky thing to like navigate, I think. A lot of people think anything that's immoral is bad. I mean, that's very simple and inaccurate. Immoral things can be good. It's just you gotta really make sure and look after the thing that you're doing. Otherwise, it gets way too out of hand. Yeah, so meditation. In Buddhism, it's actually very key. Part of the practice, the religious practice, is meditation. It's constantly assessing yourself and your body, and another part of Buddhism is keeping your body in good shape, good health, and making sure that you're not hating yourself for it. I mean, Buddha suggests to stay away from too many things that you like, which is like having your like life filled with just pleasantries and something that feels good is actually a bad thing. And he says it becomes a hindrance to your progress in life. Likewise with hating things and disliking everything, or being surrounded by things that you dislike. Or like not being surrounded by things that you dislike, but actively disliking things and actively hating things. That also becomes a hindrance. So be careful of that. Like, I know it's natural and it's human to feel hate and dislike and annoyance and disgust and all that kind of stuff, but the key is, as to everything in life, that it shouldn't be affecting or clouding your judgment. Okay? It will get in your way of being able to think clearly, and also you'll soon start to realize if you live your life oriented towards your preferences, you're not living a very decent life. It's actually a very vain and superficial life. That's why he's advising people who practice this religion to say, stay away from that kind of stuff. Like, your life should be about mostly your needs and thinking things out and like making sure it looks acceptable, or it is acceptable. Nothing more, nothing less. Right? You're just right there, just right at the acceptance level. That's all you really need. And please, stop trying to decorate it, stop trying to make it look nice and all that kind of stuff. Life isn't always about good things. That kind of stuff. It gained really widespread popularity in Americas and in Europe, this whole meditative Buddhist theologies. Ever since modern medicine started to incorporate it into their practices, such as DBT, CBT, blah blah blah. And it's been there's been numerous studies and research findings proven to show the efficacy of meditation. like how effective it is and how it actually does affect a person's brain function. So don't forget, if you practice martial arts of any kind, like I would really suggest getting on that because like let's say you're practicing martial arts and it's from the east of Asia, their entire culture is based on Buddhism, okay? Like a lot of their legal systems or their cultural customs or their practices is rooted in Buddhist theology, and that kind of stuff is hard to kind of separate. So it's like you'll have something that you're not like, you won't be able to like be as well as the other people who practice Buddhism on a regular basis or who grew up just being in the Buddhist environment and by association are Buddhists themselves. So it's like, okay, you don't have to convert your religion, but it really does help your practice for martial arts if you can understand what Buddhism really is about. What is Buddhism? It's like Buddha said, don't lead a very false, very vain and superficial life, and make sure that your life and the things that you're doing is fulfilling, not just on the surface, but actually fulfilling to you as a being. And that he always advised away from trying to harbor grudges, being resentful, learning how to let things go. You know, he's like, you don't really need to care so much about that person anymore. And it really helps if you've gone through some pretty bad stuff. Not that you yourself is bad or like you deserved it or like it's just a tragedy or whatever. I mean, he kind of advised to stay away from that kind of stuff, like that kind of talk. Um, uh, and I think the biggest thing is that he wanted to like kind of put forth some sort of practice where people can actively still be able to like find a way to kind of make things work out even if it wasn't initially the greatest thing, right? Like his progress, his goal was to find acceptance within other people's lifestyles, but then he did notice some sort of pattern and he's like, okay, this isn't like these things are definitely detrimental to your well-being and these things are definitely beneficial to your well-being. That's how he managed to like sort those two out. It's like these things will help everyone, these things will hurt everyone. Like if you do it this way, it's gonna hurt anybody who does this, and if you do it this way, it's gonna help anyone who does this. Got a headache. Why is it important to do that kind of stuff, like meditate or pray if you're Catholic or Christian and all that kind of stuff? His actual, like, the whole thing is like there's only this one story, I think I mentioned this before, where it's just like, you know, this woman overwrought by grief realized that there is no way to sum up the amount of pain and tragedy she feels in comparative to others, and it doesn't diminish how she feels, and it doesn't diminish how other people feel about their tragedy, despite the fact that there are differences between the things that happen. And with that, she was able to kind of move on with her life. Also, they're very like Buddhism about is a lot of it is about cleaning, very clean, non-attachment. And so don't get so attached to things and ideas. People die and kill themselves over it, okay? He says practice the art of non-attachment. I forget which region of Asia it was from, but there's these group of monks, Buddhist monks that live in temples, and they create mandalas, which is this like pattern shape. They're symmetrical and whatever. They create mandalas, and it's made of these colored sand that they all make by hand, and it's really pretty. And they take like months working on it, and when they're finished with the piece, they just kind of blow it away. They don't take pictures of it, they don't keep it, they don't do anything with it, they just kind of that kind of stuff. That's a very nice Buddhist technique to practice the art of non-attachment. Okay? It's saying things aren't created for the sake of being kept alive. Things are created for the sake of being able to either be in use or to be appreciated for that moment, and that's all you really need. You don't need to like try to prove it to other people. You don't need to try to like whatever. That's the core of Buddhism. It's like you don't have to have other people just blah 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 blah. Is sex banned in Buddhism? I don't think so. But I don't think, like, again, his whole thing is please stay away from trying to make yourself feel better through the physical senses. Right? So if you're upset and you're feeling bad about yourself, looking at pleasant things or feeling pleasant things or having sex or eating pleasant things or listening to pleasant things are not the conducive. It's a hindrance to your actual well-being. You're not gonna feel better. Like that problem or whatever it is that's bothering you isn't gonna go away because of those things, and you should stay away from trying to make yourself feel better that way. Not that you shouldn't be listening to music or whatever, but like if you're upset about something, please don't try to make yourself feel better through doing those things. Yeah, I don't know. Also, refrain from poisoning yourself or having anything to cloud your judgment, right? Consuming poisons and toxins to cloud your judgment. Also, a lot of it is vegetarian, so if you did have the choice, you are supposed to eat vegetarian or plant-based meals that do not destroy the entire plant. What else? You don't have to, honestly, like, it's unethical for you to starve yourself because you are being extremely too strict with your diet. I mean, if the only thing available to you is meats, then I'm sorry, you're gonna have to eat meat. That kind of stuff. He's like, don't do that. And he wanted people to recognize the intrinsic value of everyone, including themselves. They're like, you are a valuable thing on earth. Please recognize or see yourself as such. And live in a way that is fulfilling for you in accordance to your personal, like, understanding of how valuable you are. People aren't really, like, valueless completely. I mean, some people become like that over time, but again, he says to just leave it. Just don't try to change them, just let them live their life as they are. It's not really worth getting into that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm still a beginner at this, and due to my age, I still have a lot of, like, emotional responses and stuff. But he's like, you know what? Honestly, the great thing about Buddhism is that he's saying whatever your demographics does not matter. Whatever your family was like does not matter. It's you who you are as a person that matters, and what you're doing about things in your life. I think, honestly, people should have the freedom to practice religion. That's why I don't really like to get into religious debates. Again, I'm not a religion major, which is another separate field of study in school. But I'm sorry, I got distracted. I don't know. I think it's hard to marry somebody who's not the same religion as you. I think that's definitely hard. I would only want to marry somebody who I didn't have to argue about that kind of stuff with. Like, honestly, marrying somebody who's Christian who wants me to convert into Christianity out of the question. That's kind of why I have a difficult time making friends, just because so many people around me are either Christian or Catholic. A lot of people are Buddhist. And even if they're not Buddhist, they're agnostic. And I just don't really, like, you know, like, I don't mind agnosticism or whatever. agnostics, but I can't be Christian. I like being Buddhist. Well, I don't like being Buddhist. It's kind of a. I mean, it's really like. But it's very clean. Clean life. Clean living. And it promotes well being and health and, like, kind of bonding between people, or some sort of, like, a sense of respect for others and other living beings, not just yourself and other humans, but for everyone. And it's great, and you get to see the differences between everyone, and you get to appreciate the differences for what they are, which is great. But yeah, obviously, a lot of people aren't this religion. They don't really understand it because they're not, like, my religion. And, like, I even see a lot of, like, hardcore Christian kids get made fun of a lot because, like, when they're like, no sex before marriage and, like, blah 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 blah, and then, like, people make fun of them all the time. That kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they don't think it's cool to, like, follow the words of Jesus, like, love thy neighbor, always practice repentance, and blah 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 blah, and practice Lent and neighborliness and all that kind of stuff, and go to church and talk to your pastor about all that kind of stuff that you have questions about, like social issues. And yeah, I've heard that there's a lot of corruption in the Christian denominator and the Catholic denominator, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they don't really want to accept other religions as a religion. So, I mean, I even read an article, I think it was in, like, one of the better known journalism prints. He said he couldn't work as a pastor anymore after he saw how things were turning out and how everyone was behaving, and he realized there was no God. But I'm like, I think God is just a placeholder. Honestly, I think when people say God, what they really mean is there's this unknown person who's, I don't personally know this person, but they have enough authority to make changes happen, and that's what they've been doing, and I have to thank that person. I'm grateful that I'm benefiting off of somebody who did all that work, but I actually don't even know that person. It's great. I mean, let's practice humility and gratitude. Why not? That kind of stuff. I mean, that's how I see it anyway, personally. I might be a little biased just because I'm Buddhist, but I think that's what the Bible is referencing. Like, there's this God character, right? There's this person that just exists, and you can be a man or a woman. It's making all these changes happen to make sure that you got food on your table and all that kind of stuff, and making sure everyone's working, you know? And I mean, it's hard to, like, I guess some people don't understand the Bible, or, like, they misread Christianity, but there's some really awful people out there, and I don't know if they're Christian, but they do follow along with the Bible. But again, it's not really something that people can, like, I don't know. I don't think it's okay to do things in the name of religion if it's not about the religion, but it's more about you pushing forth the religion and making sure everyone is one religion or something. Like, I don't think that's a good thing. But again, that's my own personal opinion. Who knows, maybe in the future we'll have one unified religion and one unified government. I think that's what people are working towards, so it just makes things easier for everyone. Do people like each other? I feel like I'm getting a really bad cold right now. Like, I can feel it. Like, I'm about to get, like, a really high fever and just, like... Especially, I already got tested for coronavirus, so I know it's not coronavirus. If it was, they would actually, like, go and look for me and do all that kind of stuff. people die from coronavirus. I have to be in a hospital if I have coronavirus. This feels like just I mean, the reason why they tested me and did all those checkups is because I had a really bad infection, a chest infection, a respiratory tract infection, like a really bad one, and then I had to take medication for it, and then I think they were wondering if it came back or like if it's. I have a feeling it might be a yearly thing. Like it kind of pops up, and since it's like allergy season, my immune system's already compromised. So it's just like, just kill me now. We're doing you.